Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
But do you feel that Imran Khan's days are numbered, Murtaza?
I seriously think that Imran's days are numbered. This is the major blunder that he has committed.
It's an inevitable bind, Islamabad and Washington. We know this is the direction the relations were taking. I think the position that both are taking, I mean, Washington definitely is taking, it puts Pakistan closer to China.
I'm with Ayesha Siddiqa, one of Pakistan's best-known political and military analysts, has written a very well-known book on the Pakistan military, is currently in London, and with Murtaza Solangi, one of Pakistan's best-known journalists in Islamabad, formerly worked with Radio Pakistan, which he headed, as well as with Voice of America for several years. So I'm joining the time zones in London, Ayesha Siddiqa, and in Islamabad, Murtaza Solangi. Welcome to The Print, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So today we are discussing a very, very interesting subject, the crisis in Pakistan's civil and military relations, a subject that's of deep interest to India because the Pakistan army, the military establishment, has run Pakistan more than half of its independence, which is about 35 years or so. And the latest example of this crisis has been the shift or the changes inside the Pakistan military establishment. The DG ISI Faiz Hameed has been moved out. He's no longer DG ISI. He's been moved as co-commander of the Peshawar Corps, one of Pakistan's several corps. And in his place is a new DG ISI, which means a new head of Pakistan's intelligence, a new spy chief, whose name is General Nadeem Anjum. So to explain these matters, and furthermore, there are rumors that are flying thick and fast that Prime Minister Imran Khan is not happy with these changes. So what does this all mean? Ayesha Siddiqa, if you could, first of all, if you could tell me what you think of what's going on inside Pakistan.
Jyoti, thank you for these questions. Let me, there are a couple of things which need to be explained. Firstly, that the Prime Minister is the boss who appoints and notifies the Director General of the ISI. But the reality, the custom has always been that the man is selected, the DG ISI is selected by the army chief. So in a way, while the constitutional prerogative is the Prime Minister's, the organizational prerogative is the army chiefs. And normally whoever is appointed whoever is nominated by the army chief is generally accepted. I mean, there have been instances in the past, like Benazir Bhutto, who appointed General Kallu, removed Hamid Gul and appointed Kallu. And later on, it was Nawaz Sharif who brought in his own man, General Ziauddin Dar, and he selected him as the army chief against Pervez Musharraf. So, there are the two instances. But this time around, I think what is making the rumors the problem is that although the army has announced, the ISPR has announced that the changes in the army, which had to happen, but the Prime Minister office is not notifying the change, which indicates that he may be uncomfortable, the Prime Minister may be uncomfortable with the change. And the change is that General Faiz Hameed, who had to leave the position of DG ISI and go and serve somewhere as a co-commander in order to qualify later next year to be considered for the position of the army chief, has perhaps been moved out a bit too early. Perhaps the Prime Minister was thinking of January, February, but not before that. And also, Nadeem Anjum, General Nadeem Anjum, who's been brought in, perhaps their Faiz Hameed and the Prime Minister or the Prime Minister are worried that the new DG ISI is totally General Bajwa's man, and therefore may not then help Faiz Hameed come back and become the Chief of Army Staff. I mean, right now, it's not just that Faiz Hameed has gone out. It means that the new man in could actually open up the competition could help open up the competition for the senior generals.
Right.
So each one of them, the four or five, would have an equal chance to become the next army, the army chief. And
Yeah.
also, if Bajwa wants to get an extension, that is also the possibility. But
Right.
for the prime minister, it's Faiz Hameed whom he sees as the guarantor for remaining in power for the next term. Pakistan's next elections are in 2023.
Right, Ayesha, that's a fascinating introductory comment and makes the whole story even more interesting. So, Murtaza, can I ask you to come in here, explain to us, an Indian audience, there has been a lot of commentary and a lot of belief, shall we say, here in India, that it was the Pakistani military establishment that catapulted Imran Khan to power when he became prime minister 4 years ago. Now, are you saying today, as Ayesha has indicated, and would you agree, that there is tension now between the same Imran Khan, prime minister, and the military establishment, which put him on the prime minister's chair in the first place?
If you go and see the political and military history of Pakistan, if that assessment and the buzz that we hear in Islamabad is any yardstick, that there is an unease between the prime minister and the military establishment, especially on this issue. There should be no surprise, because even in the past, there have been blue-eyed boys of the military establishment put in the position of power and then thrown in the dustbin. There are just too many instances. Ayesha would tell you many of those instances. So one shouldn't be surprised. What surprise would be there for Imran Khan is that he had openly been saying that there is no other choice except me. It looks like that he was banking on the fact that since both major political parties, PMLN and People's Party, were pushed to the wall, and Imran Khan thought that military establishment had no other option, since major political forces were somehow pushed. So that was the thinking, that he probably took a chance to throw the tantrums on this appointment. Now, the entire cabinet is wearing an eerie silence on this issue, but they are letting the trolls talk. PTI trolls are making a lot of hue and cry and talking about civilian supremacy and talking about the prime minister's authority, which probably it is there. But, as Ayesha told you, how things have moved now, they are pretty much in concurrence with the previous traditions, because DG ISI is the only probably position where, as a lieutenant general, he is answerable to army chief, and as DG ISI is answerable to the prime minister. So it's not an easy position to have two bosses at the same time, but everybody knows who is the boss.
So who is the boss, Murtaza? And, tell me, do you think that Imran Khan is going to last and complete his 5 years?
Well, if political history is any yardstick, the only time our establishment has retreated is in a state of major monumental crisis caused by internal and external factors. Otherwise, it has ruled either directly or indirectly. That's the worst kept secret of Pakistan's political history. So everybody knows who is the boss. But I think there has been a miscalculation, a grave miscalculation on the part of Imran Khan, thinking that there is no other choice there are just as many colors in the spectrum and rainbow you can see. They'll have many options. So if he thought that there is no other option except him, well, he has to find out fairly soon.
So Ayesha, the
If
same.
I can,
Yeah, go ahead. In fact, the same
yeah,
question to you.
I just wanted to butt in with a couple of examples why this move is making Imran Khan uncomfortable and why it's important.
Right.
See, about a couple of decades ago, when the ISI did not have the position that it enjoys now, that kind of power. I mean, today, the fact of the matter is that there are two chiefs, the army chief and the ISI chief. ISI chief has begun to play a very significant role. But a couple of decades ago, when Asif Nawaz Janjua was appointed, I mean, this is early 1990s, and that time General Aslam Beg was very keen to get, he wanted an extension, and he was favored by Benazir Bhutto. If you remember, he was given this democracy medal as well. So he wanted an extension, and he was buying for it. And if you also remember, there was President Ishaq Khan was friendly towards Aslam Beg, General Aslam Beg. But then there was General Asif Nawaz Janjua, who was keen to get into the position. Now, the story is that Asif Nawaz Janjua, who had experience and who had deep links in the ISI, then had even the army chief's office and home bugged to get a sense of where the extension move was going. And so he could then circumvent some of the things which Aslam Beg were doing and then make it into power. So that's what makes ISI, Office of the Director General ISI, critical.
So Ayesha, the question to you is about Faiz Hameed. Why is, you said earlier that Imran Khan would like Faiz Hameed to remain DG ISI. Why is that?
Because the two probably have an understanding that you secure my future, now secure yours. I mean, 2023, you have possibly the next elections, and 2022 is when the army chief retires, if he retires, and a new one comes in, which Faiz wants to be. So the understanding, possibly, what one has heard at best rumors about it, that Imran Khan believes that this man in the seat of the COAS will guarantee his re-election, and Faiz Hameed believes that getting Imran Khan on his side is important to guarantee that he becomes the next army chief. I mean, remember another case that is about to happen. If there's going to be further friction, that constitutionally Imran Khan is the boss who will decide out of the list of people who's going to be the army chief. And so in between, if Faiz Hameed is out, he's in Peshawar. Now, professionally, it's understandable. He has been for three years. He's been the ISI chief. Now is the time to go and mind the real field, which is Peshawar. Afghanistan is important. It's flaring up.
Yes.
But the gentleman's ambition is becoming the army chief. So, if there is anybody else, he may weaken, and instead of strengthening, he may weaken Imran Khan to a point where anything could happen. I mean, there could be internal change in the PTI. Imran Khan's replacement, no confidence move. Anything could happen. I mean, we are actually looking at a point. Tension actually is going to increase between civil and military. The possibilities are definitely there.
Right.
So, one of the comments that I wanted to make was.
Yeah, go ahead, Ayesha.
So yeah, so Imran is the boss constitutionally. He's the boss. But he wants to use his position to secure his future. So as I was telling you earlier before the interview, that watching this incident is almost like watching, your mother-in-law drive down a hill in your favorite Mercedes. So you're both excited and unhappy at what's happening.
Yeah, you're really worried that it's your favorite Mercedes, but then it's your mother-in-law inside that really expensive car. But Murtaza explained to me, as if this was not enough, Maryam Nawaz Sharif, the most powerful leader of the PMLN, the Muslim League, and Nawaz Sharif's daughter, has filed a petition in the Islamabad High Court, a really long petition, where she has named Faiz Hameed, the outgoing DG ISI, and said that 4 years ago or 5 years ago, when her father was literally expelled by the Pakistani military establishment, and we know he's in exile in London ever since, and she accuses Faiz Hameed of speaking to one of the judges in the Supreme Court to evict her father from the political circles. So how does this sort of connect with the crisis in Islamabad right now between civil and military?
What she has mentioned in her petition is something that has been mentioned before. It has been mentioned by Nawaz Sharif during his rallies, speeches, online interactions, press conferences, as well as the judge of the Islamabad High Court who was thrown out, Justice Ayesha Siddiqa. He said that in a bar room, he said that in a public address, and also he mentioned the same accusations in a deposition at the Supreme Court to defend himself in Supreme Judicial Council. His appeal is still pending. That has yet to be decided by the Supreme Court. So those allegations and charges were not new. But now, since they have been repeated at a critical juncture when all these appointments and reshuffling was taking place, it has really made a different impact. And it would somehow, looks like, would embolden the position of the army chief who has made those changes, and might weaken the hand of Imran Khan, and might open up the political space for other political parties that had been pushed to the wall. That's why today there was a meeting between Maulana Fazl Rahman and Shehbaz Sharif, and then they reiterated their demand for fresh polls, and they again said that they would go ahead for the long march to get rid of Imran Khan government. So as we come closer to the winter season, the political temperature is rising, opening up new possibilities when Imran Khan is feeling the heat.
Ayesha, how do you see this? You are in London, Nawaz Sharif is in the same city as you. How do you see this unfold? As Murtaza just said, the options are increasing. It's not as if Imran Khan is as comfortable as he was even a week ago. But how do you see this unfold, considering Nawaz Sharif has been so critical of the Pakistani military establishment in public meetings of the PDM, the Pakistan Democratic Movement, over the last year? Do you think that he can therefore come back to Pakistan perhaps over the next few years? And how do you see this unfold?
Jyoti, there are a couple of possibilities that I see. I mean, right now, the fact is the military itself is caught in a corner. Its own selected prime minister is making moves which challenge the army chief's authority.
Isn't that a good thing, though, in a sense? Isn't that a good thing? The fact that, he was named, he was put on the chair by the Pakistani military establishment, but now he's challenging it. Isn't that a good thing?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The mother-in-law going down the hill in the Mercedes, right? So the point is that, so that puts them in the corner. Now, the two things, and on the other hand, there is Mia Nawaz Sharif sitting in London saying that, look, I'm not going to compromise. I'm ready to talk to you, but not on your terms. It will be my terms, and my terms are you're not going to interfere in elections. You are not going to, kind of do this kind of selection which you've done before. I mean, let's not forget what we've also heard is that PPP is also looked at as another option, which the army might help come into power, through make those arrangements. So what Nawaz Sharif is saying, I'm not going to allow you, I'm going to talk to you, but not on your terms, my terms. So one possibility is that they actually feel a weakness in the knees, the army chief, and agrees to open up space sufficiently and actually allow holding of, free and fair elections, which means no pre-poll rigging, definitely no pre-poll rigging, no trying to adjust things. So, adjust the deck of cards before elections. So the fact is that today, if you hold free and fair elections in Pakistan, PMLN will win, definitely in the largest province, which is Punjab, which is what matters for elections. So one is that, then Army Chief decides to open up sufficiently, which also means, and then we'll see a couple of things happening. This appeal in the Supreme Court by Maryam Nawaz, it means that all the cases, right now, she's been forbidden to kind of hold an office and join the parliament because of the court judgment. She's challenging that judgment, which means that if that is then quickly decided, it opens up possibility for her to come. The second scenario is that the army chief doesn't allow Nawaz and his daughter Mariam to come into power, but opens up space sufficiently for PMLN to come in. It could either be Shahid Khaqan Abbasi as the Prime Minister, it could be Shehbaz Sharif, but some form or the other, PMLN comes back. So these are two possibilities. Right. And of course, what goes without saying is that while this possibility happens, we'll have to look at what they do with Imran Khan. I mean, Imran Khan, there could be no vote of confidence. Some kind of scandal. A lot of stories coming out. So we see. I think in the next 15 to 20 days or a month is critical.
How do you see this unfold, Murtaza? You talked about Shehbaz Sharif meeting Maulana Fazlur Rahman. Is he perhaps one of the contenders? He is Nawaz Sharif's brother. But explain to us, to an Indian audience, the power play between the two brothers, between Nawaz Sharif and Shehbaz, and Nawaz Sharif's daughter, Mariam Sharif, as well as the other parties, the People's Party, the Pakistan People's Party, the PPP, which now Bilawal Bhutto is heading.
Nawaz Sharif would have no problem accepting his younger brother as the Prime Minister of Pakistan, because right now he and his daughter are out of the political power game because of the cases, the judgments. He has to figure out a way to get back in the game. But right now, as things stand, if elections are held tomorrow, he would have no problem accepting his brother as the Prime Minister of Pakistan. The way things are moving, there are many possibilities. One of the possibilities is that if there is a huge crisis, as it is seemingly happening now, Imran Khan has the choice to call early elections, which prime ministers always do. It has not been exercised too much in Pakistan's political history, but you never know when it happens. The second is the no confidence. But even if there's a no confidence at this moment, and Imran Khan is thrown out, I seriously doubt that I seriously doubt that Nawaz Sharif would want his party to come to power, because they would prefer, they have preferred in the recent past, but they would even now prefer that there is somebody from Imran Khan's party taking over for the remainder period and creating a crisis to go for the fresh polls, for the fresh mandate. So that is the possibility as I see it now.
But do you feel that Imran Khan's days are numbered, Murtaza?
I seriously think that Imran's days are numbered. This is the major blunder that he has committed. He has used the power of the same page being with the establishment to crush opposition, the media, hound judges like Qazi Faiz Isa, and human rights organizations. But now this was a major mistake on his part to confront or throw tantrums before the people who have selected him to come to power.
But why did he do that, Murtaza?
Political power has its own dynamics. Even the weakest people put in the position of power at some point try to act as they are powerful. We have seen people like Mahmud Khan Junejo in Pakistan's political history, who was nobody. And then he, as a prime minister, confronted the most brutal dictator of Pakistan's political history, General Ziaul Haq. So Nawaz Sharif, the way he was brought in 1985 and 91 and 93, 99, it has happened all over the place in Pakistan's political history.
Okay, Ayesha, tell us, what is this? Do you see first of all that the Pakistani military establishment may pull back in a crisis like this, and what kind of impact would it have on relations, say with India or with Afghanistan? Because we know that the Pakistani military establishment controls both foreign policy as well as security policy.
I don't think that in the short to medium term, policies are going to change.
Okay.
It depends on what kind of change comes in. If the new leader that comes in understands that they have sufficient room to maneuver, sufficient room to play, so change, an internal change, domestic change is significant. I think for the time being, what is important is that, I'm sure if I was General Bajwa, I would be sitting in my room thinking very hard, because it's a big challenge right now. His authority as the army chief has been challenged. So it's important for him to bring in a man and then also, in a way, concede surrender, limited surrender. Allow political parties to play, but not maneuver the future to that degree where, as he would have wanted in the past. So allowing PMLN to come back, which had been pushed out, which had been thrown out with the narrative that it's corrupt, and the rest of it. So that's where the problem lies for the army chief. And now, I think for the corps commanders, etc., the thing is, where do they limit the military's power? I don't think. They would be aiming for something with minimal kind of losses for themselves, not strategic losses. But let's see how game is played.
So you said right at the beginning, Ayesha, that the notification for the new DG ISI General Nadeem Anjum has not been issued by the Prime Minister's office. No, I'm sorry, I think Murtaza said that. And the outgoing DG ISI, of course, Faiz Hameed, who's now going as co-commander in Peshawar, which is in charge of Pakistan, I think you said, Ayesha. So tell us a little bit about Nadeem Anjum himself. I mean, what is his background, if you can give us a little bit, and what kind of a person is he? I mean, Faiz Hameed was quite colorful, wasn't he?
Well, I mean, so is this one. I mean, he dyes his hair pretty black. This one as compared to the last one, and he is no less colorful. I mean, that one was more ambitious. This one is ambitious, but I mean, he is served at all the right places. I mean, he is served in Balochistan. He served as Corps Commander Quetta. He has been IGFC in Balochistan, which means his life has to be very colorful. And his last posting was Karachi, so all the critical places. But he's also very, very much, the chief's man. And he's considered, I mean, they say he's a professional man, and so was Faiz Hameed. I mean, it's not about who's less professional, who's more professional. The one is that Faiz Hameed was part of the Bajwa team to install Imran Khan. This one doesn't have those stakes in Imran Khan. He has stakes in his boss. That's what makes him different.
Right. So last questions to the both of you. Murtaza, you've had the US Deputy Secretary of State, Wendy Sherman, has just been to India and after that to Pakistan just a couple of days or so ago. In India, as you know, she made very critical statements about Pakistan. How has that gone down inside Pakistan, and how do you look at the US-Pakistan relationship in the light of the fact that the Taliban has been in power for now at least a couple of months in Afghanistan, but there has been no recognition?
Of course, it has not been liked by any section of Pakistani society. In media and analysts, and especially the ruling party and the pro-establishment wonks. This has not been accepted. And there is this old mantra of, this going in and out between US and Pakistan, who has cheated more, who has dished more. So this old thing. But I think publicly, the foreign minister and the army chief, they have insisted on seeking broad relationship, and she has almost repeated what she said in Mumbai, that she is here for counterterrorism cooperation and Afghanistan and all that. So pretty much this has sealed the fate of improving US-Pakistan relationship for the near future.
What do you think, Ayesha?
I think I agree with what I said, that it's an inevitable bind, Islamabad and Washington. We know this is the direction the relations were taking. I think the position that both are taking, I mean, Washington definitely is taking, it puts Pakistan closer to China. I mean, there is no other option than China. That's again a growing realization. But the other thing is that I think in a way the Bajwa doctrine has been demonstrated. The US Deputy Secretary, they send a junior officer to Pakistan, and Pakistan sent a very junior person from the Foreign Office to receive her, not like in the past. So the Bajwa doctrine, it's almost like exercising Bajwa doctrine, which is like, we will repay in the same coin as you pay us in. And and standing up for Pakistan's dignity, we cannot be treated, we've done enough for you, we cannot be treated this way. I mean, this is a signal that continues to be.
Right.
I think what becomes very inevitable is that Pakistan uh, does not figure out anywhere in American future planning. And so it has to work out its options. It continues to need United States. There is IMF, there is Financial Action Task Force. Pakistan has to launch a bond, a surety bond, to raise another $1 billion to pay off its debt. So all of that in the Western international market makes America critical, and therefore it's trying to do the balance. But we know that for in military strategic terms, the relationship is as much as over.
So one quick last question to you, Ayesha. You know, it's in 2019, after the Pulwama attacks in Kashmir, in which 40 Indian soldiers died, the Indian government, Prime Minister Modi launched the Balakot, the attacks in Balakot. Now, it's been a year and a half of the pandemic, so nothing much has happened between India and Pakistan. But there have been back-channel talks about 6 months ago between the two national security advisors. The line of control is actually quiet. There has been some infiltration recently, but it's held. The peace has held. Do you think that this will hold, considering the crisis in Pakistan, or do you think that this is independent of that?
I think the peace will hold. I mean, strategically, it will hold because Afghanistan is very live and burning. It is in Pakistan's interest to improve its image, firstly, and secondly, because it's very busy in Afghanistan. So the peace will hold. And my information is that actually, as we speak, the process is still in place, and the decision is still in place to issue visas for diplomats, to go back to each other's countries and start business, which means visas will begin to be issued. There will be more activity on both sides.
Well, that's fantastic news. Great information. If both countries are going to inch or limp towards normalcy, if high commissioners are going to be allowed back, and if, hopefully trade will resume, and perhaps journalists like us can meet Murtaza either in Delhi or in Islamabad. But thank you both so much for your time. Ayesha Siddiqa in London and Murtaza Solangi in Islamabad. Thank you for joining the Print Debates.
Thank you.